this moment, this eternal essence, this love, this warmth. Now, if we begin to glimpse even a little bit of this, we'll begin to understand emotion. Now, when a thought is deprived of pure feeling, and it deprives itself of pure feeling, because what happens is, I feel a lack. The moment I feel a lack, I grab all the thoughts that have been around me, maybe at this particular point, that have felt that loneliness. And I feel it like a deep, gut-wrenching loneliness. And it begins to accelerate in its feeling of quote, negativity, darkness, because not only it lacks feeling, but also because I've identified with that thought, and all the thoughts that corresponded to it entered me, you see? And so I am at that moment so caught, I'm unable to look at it as a movement of energy. Now, if you begin to glimpse feeling, which is the awareness, which is the witness, which is that warmth, that love, if you awaken that listening, next time you feel an emotion, all it takes is 1 second to look at it, and you burn it out. Literally burn it out. Now, I'm not saying it might not repeat, but it will less and less and lessen and lessen and lessen in its intensity until it's gone. And when we're able to do that, I had a man about 2 years ago, and he was on the verge of divorce because of his anger. He never really hit his wife, but he was quite violent. He was breaking things. And finally, she said to him, "Go and see Burt." And he came to see me, and we went into his anger, and he said, "I must get rid of his anger." I said, "The first thing to do, don't get rid of it. Let's understand it. It's energy. Don't get rid of anything, because getting rid of something is a sure way to make it real, right?" So anyway, we dealt with it, we explored it totally, and this man is totally new to this type of thing. But he had intention to change. You see, it was so strong because he was ready to leave him. He had to change. He had no other recourse. And we got in touch with his anger. And I gave him a couple of techniques to do, things to do. But the important thing that he grasped is that his anger was not wrong. It was what he thought about himself, how he felt. And we went into his feelings. Well, it took us about 2.5 hours, and when he left, he was a changed man. Now, he's very rare, it doesn't happen that often, but he still says that since then, which was about 2 years ago, he never lost his temper with his wife again. And that was, so it could happen suddenly, or it could take a long time. But it's when you're ready to listen. And what is listening? It is pure feeling, you see? You bring pure feeling, the witness, the presence, into whatever you're experiencing, without any desire to get rid of it. Because if you want to get rid of an emotion, it will accelerate, it will get worse. You see, because you resist it. The very nature of emotional pain is one word: resistance. You see? It continuously resists. And that's what anger is. Anger, a part of anger is, I feel so angry. Why? Because you feel helpless inside and you want to be in control. Right? But if you recognize your own helplessness and it's okay, the opposite happens. The moment we acknowledge our own helplessness, we are acknowledging the helplessness of the ego to control anything. And the moment you acknowledge that, that very acknowledgement itself gives you a form of power, which is a positive strength, you see? And that power is to deal with the very demons that attack you. That is the real power, that is the real strength. Is that when there are demons inside you called negative emotions, you're able to look at them for what they are. And when you look at them for what they are, all it takes is one strong look, pure feeling look, and they burn away. Now I'd like to get some questions here, just to make sure we're understanding how this process works. Now we said before, for example, and I asked you, and I said, "Who are you?" And you said, "You really don't know," which was beautiful and honest. And if you take it one step further and says, "I am happy to know that I really don't know who I am." You see, if you come to that point and you actually say that, you move into pure feeling immediately. Because the ego always wants. It wants to know that it knows. I want to be somebody. I want to know that I am somebody special. But if you're willing to acknowledge you don't know, which takes courage, which takes strength, then you open the knowing part in you, which is beyond words. See, we have more knowing than we can imagine. I remember one time when I came across A Course in Miracles, I loved it, immediately fell in love with it. And the reason I did was because it was very similar to the teachings of Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. The words were totally different, but the teaching is the same, you know. And so anyway, when I was starting, people asked me to give a few classes about it, to make a long story short. And the first feeling that came to me, as long as I think I know the Course, I'm not going to be any good to anybody. Because then again, what I knew were really words. Okay, I understood the words, I understood this, I understood that. And I was reading it, and then I acknowledged, I says, no, there's deeper meaning behind this. There's a deeper feeling. You see? Because each statement of the Course is so much in it. So I recognized my own ignorance, and the moment I did, I was totally open. You see? And that is the whole point. That is the paradox. We go to pure feeling the moment we acknowledge our helplessness, the ego's inability to control anything. And the moment we do that, we move automatically into the real power, our pure feeling knowing. You see? And that knowing can never be shaken. You can read in the Bible, you can have the best gurus and masters and tell you there is no death. And you believe it. And the moment of death, you'll shake with fear. Why? Because it's a belief. But if you come to know that death is impossible, because you know, because you've moved into the pure feeling. When you move into pure feeling, you just know, just like you know you are. The now is eternal. The now knows no time. How can death take place? How can death happen if now is eternal? And you are this now. Well, the moment you know it, truly know it, you don't need a belief anymore. You just know, beyond any doubt. You see? So knowing cannot be shaken. But belief can be shaken.
Is that where faith comes in?
No. Knowing is stronger than faith. Because faith can be blind. You see? You know, for example, in when I was brought up a Catholic, and they says, well, we cannot explain these things to you, the priest told me. He says, but we have to have faith. You see? And, well, that's fine, but it's still a belief. But no, knowing is much greater than faith. Knowing is knowing. And that's what spiritual awakening is all about. You know it when nobody can shake it away from you. It's just impossible. Because you know. Don't you know you exist? Yes. Can anybody take that away from you? No. Can anybody take away from the fact that now is all you can ever know? No. Once you come to know it, now is all you can ever have. You see? Now, what is fear? Now we can start to understand emotions. What is fear? Fear, not only separation, fear exists in the future. What's going to happen based on what you thought in the past. You see? Fear is the future. Fear creates a future.